Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar Business Opportunities and Manufacturing Expansion in Malaysia, organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. We would like to also thank the Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, MATRADE, Federation of Hong Kong Industries, the Chinese Manufacturers Association of Hong Kong, and the Malaysian Chamber of Commerce for their support for the webinar. I'm your MC today, Pamela. Please note that this webinar will be conducted in English. You may submit questions via the Q&A box during the Q&A session after the presentation of each speaker. The questions will then be addressed by the speaker. To begin this webinar, may I first invite Mr. Peter Wong, Regional Director, Southeast Asia and South Asia of Hong Kong Trade Development Council, to deliver his welcoming remarks, please. Mr. Wong.
Thank you, Pamela. Trade Commissioner, Ms. Noor, Ezzwanee binti Ahmad, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for joining today's webinar on business and manufacturing opportunities in Malaysia. Amid the global fight against COVID-19, plenty of manufacturers are still striving to grasp business opportunities by exploring alternative production bases and new markets. We have been keeping in touch with the manufacturing sectors and various enterprises, and are happy to know that more and more Hong Kong SMEs will consider expanding their sales and production businesses to ASEAN after the pandemic. In fact, Malaysia is one of the preferred manufacturing destinations for Hong Kong SMEs. Malaysia's location is perfect for Hong Kong manufacturers looking for business opportunities for their ASEAN export markets. You can reach Malaysia from Hong Kong within 4 hours by flight. The improving ASEAN transport network enables cost-effective and efficient imports and exports of raw materials, parts and components from and to China. Additionally, the industrial parks in Malaysia are hugely supported by the government of Malaysia, which further facilitate the diversification of Hong Kong manufacturers' supply chains and markets. Expansion of Hong Kong SMEs to ASEAN is indeed a quasi-extension of mainland China's well-established supply chain. To assist Hong Kong manufacturers in establishing presence in overseas industrial parks, a task force focusing on manufacturing partnership and investment was set up under our Belt and Road and Greater Bay Area Committee in December 2019. Supported by the task force, the HKTDC stands ready to help with your endeavors on manufacturing expansion. In this webinar, organized by the HKTDC, you will know more about the different aspects of business expansion in Malaysia, including its business and investment environment, well-equipped industrial parks, related legal and tax policies, and also e-commerce opportunities. Lastly, I would like to express my gratitude to our supporting organizations, Federation of Hong Kong Industries and Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, MATRADE, for the support for today's webinar. I hope you will find today's webinar useful. Thank you and see you in Malaysia soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, may I invite our first speaker, Ms. Noor Ezzwanee binti Ahmad, Trade Commissioner, Consulate-General of Malaysia, Hong Kong, Trade Session, MATRADE Hong Kong, to give her responding remarks and presentation. Ms. Ahmad, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ezzwanee from the MATRADE Hong Kong here of the Consulate-General of Malaysia. Okay, thank you, Peter, for inviting MATRADE to the session today. And thank you to our panelists, Siew, Janice, and Fione Tan as well, who will be joining us to talk about the various topics today. So on my side, at least I will talk about Malaysia's trade and investment opportunities. Okay, I'll start by sharing with you the Q2 of 2020's Malaysian economic indicators. So as with other countries, our GDP has seen a decrease in its growth, as you can see, but as reported in the statistics from the Malaysian side, our main sectors that contribute to our GDP are mainly services, with about nearly 60% of the GDP, while followed by manufacturing, and construction and others. Okay, as you all know, Malaysia has about nearly 33 million population. So we have about a labor force of 15.7 million, and currently our unemployment rate is about 5.1%. Okay, then as you can see, this is the foreign direct investment performance in Q2 of 2020. So Malaysia has received quite a lot of FDIs from the Netherlands, British Virgin Islands, and Singapore, while for Malaysia's direct investment abroad, countries such as Indonesia, Canada, and United Kingdom has been receiving a lot of our DIAs. Okay, for Malaysia's economic development journey, as you may know, that Malaysia started from an agri-based economy since the 1960s. Then now we are basically transforming ourselves to a more diversified economic structure. Okay, moving in line with Malaysia's national plans and industrial master plans, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry has implemented policies, various national trade and investment initiatives and policies, such as the Industry Forward, the Malaysia's digital economy and national automotive policies. And we continue to revamp our policies from time to time to encourage so that the initiative benefits our Malaysian businesses as well as our investors. Okay, this is the targeted investment, targeted trade investment sectors. As you can see, under the Industry Forward, these are the growth areas that Malaysia is focusing at, which is the manufacturing sector, and those are the main sectors we are focusing, especially like aerospace, machinery, oil and gas, and others. While the services sectors, maybe hotel and tourism, is slightly impacted a lot nowadays. But of course, we have others that we are focusing at, such as green tech, offshore and outsourcing activities, and others. Okay, going forward, we also would like to enhance our traditional industries, such as electronics, but of course focusing on the relevant subsectors that Malaysia are strong at, right? And of course the other sectors as well. So now I'd like to talk about the investment policies of Malaysia. So generally our investment policies, as you may know, we have 100% foreign equity ownership. We have repatriation income, freedom to repatriate capital interest with no restriction, and of course, employment of expatriates. We also have the competitive investment incentive within the range from 20 to 25 years, where we give potential investors pioneer status, investment tax allowance, reinvestment allowance, and also we do customized package investment incentives. Okay, these are the various economic corridors in Malaysia. So if you are looking into investing in Malaysia, we have these various investment promotion agencies that belongs to various states in Malaysia. So, once you have these slides, you can actually go to their website and look at the the various states in Malaysia that may be suitable for your investment. Mr. Nick Siew after this will talk about the various states, mainly the 4 main popular economic states of Malaysia that you can consider to invest at. Okay, these are the major China companies operating in Malaysia. I mean, as you can see, there are a lot of all the big China companies are operating, investing in Malaysia. And on the right side, you can see those are some of the Hong Kong companies already in Malaysia. They have been in Malaysia for quite a few years, especially like Lee Kum Kee, I think nearly 20 years already in Malaysia. So Lee Kum Kee in Malaysia is their halal hub, you know, their halal hub center, all right? Okay, Malaysia trades with more than 200 markets around the world. So currently our ranking is the 26th exporting nation, the 26th import nation, and 38th nation with FDI inflow. So in terms of the Malaysia and Hong Kong bilateral trade between from 2019 up to August 2020, so due to certain economic situations and of course the current pandemic, so we have seen quite a decrease in our bilateral trade between Malaysia and Hong Kong. However, Hong Kong is still Malaysia's 7th largest trading partner. Hong Kong is our 7th largest export destination and 15th largest source of import. So as you can see, Malaysia and Hong Kong has been are each other's major trading partners. Okay, these are Malaysia's top products and services. So these are basically the main sectors that Malaysia is strong at. As you know, currently the medical disposables, especially the Malaysian glove, we have been receiving quite a lot of orders from all over the world. And as the industry informed us, they have been quite booked with orders, so a lot of the deliveries can only be done June 2021. So, and be careful also with the current fraud claimed by various countries or other companies. So in any case, if you are looking to source for medical disposable, please come to MATRADE and we will recommend to you relevant companies. Also, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, you can see the Malaysian products directory. So you can look at all the various companies available in those directories. Okay, this is the import opportunities into Malaysia. So if Hong Kong would like to export to Malaysia, so basically these are the sectors that we are looking at, mainly to serve the various industries in Malaysia, as well as for the consumer goods. A lot of Hong Kong products are lifestyle products, so you're welcome to expand your market to Malaysia. Okay, if you're looking to source for Malaysian products as well, Malaysia has signed with a lot of various B2B platforms around the world and also in China. So you can actually go to these platforms to look for Malaysian suppliers. And also I think in HKTDC sourcing.com, we have hundreds of Malaysian companies listed there as well. So do please go to this website to look for Malaysian suppliers, right? So now I would like to explain more on the Malaysia's market characteristic in case you're looking to expand your product and services to Malaysia. So as you are well aware, Malaysia is an upper middle income nation. So 60% of Malaysians are middle income, and we have one of the highest purchasing powers in Asia. So our working age population have the higher tendency to spend, and also 60% of Malaysian population are Muslim. So please be aware on the needs of the Muslim consumers, especially there's a huge demand for halal products, meaning products, especially food that are compliant to the Islamic religion. Okay, so demand for halal products, you can see if you are looking to export halal food and beverage to Malaysia, please do look at these requirements. And then we have an emerging proportion of Gen X and Gen Ys, also Gen Zs, pillars of Malaysia household spending. And also we are one of the ethnically diverse countries in the world. And we have an increasing expat community in Malaysia as well. Of course, the rise of e-commerce, we have 90% of our population are internet users. Our household access to mobile phones are 98.2%. And Malaysia's retail e-commerce size is valued at USD $3.4 billion, right? So if you are looking into market entry into Malaysia, so we would advise, you know, for you first to look for distributors and agents. So I think HKTDC has an office in Malaysia, whereby they can help, you know, for you to link you up with various Malaysian companies there. So a lot of these distributors and agents, they supply to the government, they supply to the retail, and also to various companies. So especially to the government, there's a few criteria whereby it's hard for foreign companies to supply directly to the government, where you have to JV with the local partner. Okay, and then of course we have the various e-commerce in Malaysia, which Fione Tan will talk more about this after this. So as you can see, we have Lazada, Lelong, Shopee, Fashion Ballet for lifestyle and fashion products. And of course we have the various trade shows in Malaysia. You know, as you can see, MIF is the furniture fair. We have the food fair, MIFB. Then we have the healthcare, APHM. Al-Qaeda is for architecture and building materials. And Semicon for electrics and electronics. IGEM is for green products, green industry. And then we have MIHAS for food and halal food and beverages, and other various trade shows that not just for the Malaysian market, but for the ASEAN market as well. So if you are looking into participating in trade shows, please do consider one of these. And of course, today, as the host of the APEC 2020, Malaysia under MATRADE is also organizing the My APEC 2020 exhibition. So the My APEC 2020 exhibition will be held from now, basically until the end of the year, whereby we have virtual exhibition, e-biz match, webinars, and business pitching. So I think 5 Hong Kong companies are participating in the virtual exhibition. So we hope, you know, throughout this duration, a lot more companies can join us, you know, to showcase your products. Okay, why choose Malaysia? So, you know, Malaysia basically is right in the middle of ASEAN. We have a strategic location. We have a liberal investment policies and pro-business government. You know, as compared to some other countries throughout ASEAN, we have quite a well-developed infrastructure and connectivity. And excellent facilities, business facilities, convention facilities for you to do business with. Of course, under MATRADE, we have you know, a lot of suppliers that offer high quality products and services. In terms of labor force, we have a very young, diverse, and multilingual and educated labor. We have sound banking system, and in terms of quality of life, Malaysia has been ranked, you know, quite a few times in various retirement and also cost of living rankings that you know, is quite affordable, right? And of course, these are the global competitiveness ranking of Malaysia. So we have been ranked quite high in some of the reports throughout the world, like you know, the World Bank, the A.T. Kearney, where the ease of doing business, the second countries, and you know, and other ranking as well. Okay, what I want to highlight here is that from all the various free trade agreement Malaysia has signed, so I want to highlight the ASEAN Hong Kong Free Trade Agreement, that was signed in August 2019. So we hope through this FTA, a lot more Hong Kong companies and Malaysian companies can use this FTA in terms of trade in goods and services, as well as investment in both sides. Okay, what we want to promote also is to use Malaysia as your access to ASEAN market. So as you know, ASEAN has a population of nearly 650 million now. Our combined GDP is $2.77 trillion. We have a GDP growth rate of 5%, and we are the third largest economy in Asia. And our economy is expected to be the fourth in the world by 2050. And we generate about 80 million tourist arrival. So as for Malaysia, we are one of the strongest economies in ASEAN. And as you all know, we are right smack in the middle of ASEAN. From Hong Kong, we have quite a few direct flights from Hong Kong and the mainland. And we have a good, government support for businesses and high infrastructure support. Okay, I would like to highlight that one of our supporters today is the Malaysian Chambers. So if there are companies from Hong Kong who like to get to know Malaysian businesses in Hong Kong, please, do join us, and we can help you network and advise you in doing business in Malaysia. Of course, for social setting, it's more of the Malaysian Association. So if you are interested to sample Malaysian culture, Malaysian food, do join the Malaysian Association of Hong Kong. All right, so finally, since I don't have much time, so please, these are the contact details of the Consulate-General of Malaysia. In particular, my office is MATRADE Hong Kong, and our MIDA, the investment section, is in Guangzhou. So please, you can always email us for any questions or inquiries about Malaysia in general, or specific inquiries if you like to source for Malaysian products or invest in Malaysia. All right, that's about it. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Trade Commissioner. We will now open the floor for questions. Please submit your questions through the Q&A box. And we have a question for Trade Commissioner. So what are the major differences between workforces in Malaysia and other ASEAN countries?
All right, so in terms of workforces, what we usually get asked is that, in case if you're looking into investing in Malaysia, we have, Malaysia is trying to move away from labor-intensive investments, right? So not that we deny it or anything, but we try to look for high-value investment that requires less labor, all right? And in terms of the labor force in Malaysia, we have a highly skilled labor force because we have a few universities and also vocational institutions that helps teach the school leavers, practical and vocational skills that would help them to go to these various industries that need skilled laborers. And of course, we have a lot of factories, like for instance, electrics and electronics in Malaysia that have quite a lot of skilled and educated managers, high-level officers who are knowledgeable to help investors, or also the local businesses to do business, right? So as compared to other, we might not be able to be as labor intensive as certain countries in ASEAN, but at the same time we can offer other in a way other aspects that some companies might consider they are better than other countries.
Thank you. Here is another question. So under the ASEAN Hong Kong FTA, how can Malaysian companies leverage through Hong Kong on trades to China, for example?
Okay, as you all know, Hong Kong is already a free trade port, so it's quite easy for, it's very easy for Malaysian products and services to come into Hong Kong, all right? So, I mean, in our promotion here to Malaysian companies, what we highlight is to use Hong Kong as a gateway to the mainland, because a lot of Chinese companies are here in Hong Kong, and also Hong Kong companies that have businesses in the mainland, and that you can actually partner with, you know, for instance, if you are looking into selling Malaysian products. So there are a lot of mainland importers and Hong Kong importers here that who sell to mainland as well, either through e-commerce or directly, you know, they supply to various companies of various cities in China. So here also, I think the Hong Kong side can tell a better story than me, but from my experiences, you know, hearing from the Malaysian companies in Hong Kong, you know, in terms of setting up companies, in terms of, you know, the money transfer in and out is relatively easy in Hong Kong. So yeah, please, I do encourage Malaysian companies to use Hong Kong as a gateway to mainland, but not just mainland, to other markets as well, because there are a lot of international companies based here in Hong Kong, especially a lot of buying houses, procurement houses, looking for other products. So you can capitalize on Hong Kong on that.
Thank you, Trade Commissioner. Thank you for your presentation today. Next, may I invite our next speaker, Mr. Milford Choi, VP of Business Development from Hongrita, to give his presentation on Hong Kong manufacturing in Malaysia. Mr. Choi, please.
Thank you, Pamela. And let me share the screen. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks TDC to invite us to this webinar. I'm Milford Choi, Business Development VP of Hongrita. We are glad that here to share our experience in expanding our manufacturing footprint to Malaysia. I hope that our experience can help some manufacturers similar to us. Okay. First of all, I'd like to have a brief introduction of our company to you so that you will understand more about our background. Hongrita was founded in 1988. We are a precision plastic and silicon rubber component molder and mold maker. We provided the full manufacturing solutions of the plastic and also the silicon rubber component. Okay. We make and export precision plastic molds. Moreover, we make the plastic parts for various industry, as you see from the screen. We make the parts, critical parts for the medical devices, automotive, and also the consumer electronics. Over 90% of our parts are for the export products. Our company vision is create better value together. Because we are an OEM manufacturer for the component, so we have to work very closely with our customer and also our supplier. We need a very mature supply chain to work together. So we need to develop the full product as well as the full manufacturing solutions. Like other manufacturers in Hong Kong, we was founded in Hong Kong, and we started our first factory in early 90s at Shenzhen. And with the growing of our business, and we expanded at the same location in 2006 with a larger factory in Shenzhen. And also we have another factory built in 2016, so which is in Zhongshan. And the factory is finished in 2016, and then we start the production in 2017. Because that we need to serve our customer better, so we decided to expand our manufacturing footprint to out of China. So that's why that we built another factory in Malaysia. So that Malaysia is the first out of China factory. So now you'll see that there we have a totally 3 factories: Shenzhen, Zhongshan, and also we at the Penang of the Malaysia. Our Shenzhen factory has the 25,000 square meter with around 400 employees. And Zhongshan factory, which is our largest manufacturing site now, we have around 70,000 square meter with around 120 employees. In order to provide better support to our customer, we have planned to expand our manufacturing footprint to Southeast Asia. And we started searching a few years ago, but because of the tariffs or the trade war issue in last year, it speed up our progress to opening a factory. We start to select locations since early of the 2018. And finally, we decided to set up a factory in the Penang of Malaysia. And later on, I'll tell you more about it or why we selected Malaysia as our first factory out of China. And our factory now, we started at a very small scale first. Our factory is 3,500 square meter, and we have around 60 employees. And the factory now is running around only 30% of capacity because we just started. But it's already running 2 shifts. That means that it's already a 24 hours production running. Okay, so next I will share with you that our consideration when we selecting a right location as our first China +1 factories. Firstly, we target this factory is a full function factory. What does it mean? That means that we do not want to just barely set up a production line, which is supporting our current factory in China. We want this factory will be fully equipped with the full manufacturing process, such like our other factory in China. So that this factory must have the capability to develop their business themselves. So it must have to get their support our existing customers, and then he can capable to find a new customer. So therefore, the business opportunities is a very one of the very critical factors. We have some customer, currently we have some customer, they have their factory in Malaysia. So that we can use this, make use of this location or new factory to help our current supplier. Moreover, we also foresee that new opportunities, as Ms. Noor mentioned, that we are looking for the ASEAN opportunities and also other local opportunities. So that's why that we need to find a place that they can not only serving our existing customer, but also can serving the whole Southeast Asia and also and China as well. Of course, as I mentioned, tariffs is a very big concern. And then we need to select a place that with the relatively stable relationship with not only to the America, but also to China and also to the other countries. Secondly, as a component manufacturer, supply chain is very, very important to us. We are not making the parts by ourselves only. We need to work very, very close with our supplier. We find that in Malaysia, the supply chain is very mature, at least at our mold and die industry. Except some very special equipment or component, most of our parts can be found from local source. So that is, they help us to speed up the factory setup. Further, the human resources is also a very important point. We find that we are not difficult to find very capable management and also the technical staff that in Malaysia, especially in some big cities such as Penang, KL, or Johor, etc. So that will be not a problem just to find the capable talent. And also language is also very important. People in Malaysia speak very good English, and most of the Malaysian Chinese can speak Chinese, and even multiple dialects such as Cantonese. It helps us that to have the team work together with our China team, because that our process is quite precision and some is dynamic, is very special process for our customers, so that when we need to transfer our technology or knowledge to this new factory that is not able to get a normal translator, we need to have a very good communication with the technical team and also the production. Moreover, the infrastructure is also very important. In our factory is in the Penang. In our factory that is very close to the shipping terminal and also the airport. We go to these two to the terminals that is within only 1 hour. We can reach the airport or the shipping terminal. Okay, another thing that is important is that the system and the policy. We find that the legal and accounting system of the Malaysia is quite similar to Hong Kong. At least for us, it is not difficult to understand. I know that there is a session from Ms. Janice. She will give us the more professional information about the legal and also the taxing system. Maybe she will tell us more about this, okay? But for us, I think that is one very good point, that is that the government support is very helpful and also very friendly to the foreign, at least for the foreign manufacturing investor. Especially for us, that is some export business that we have some policy of such as the RMW, that we can have some duty-free policy and also the license for help us have the paying less the import tax. Okay. After evaluate we had to visit the several places in Southeast Asia, and then finally we selected, we evaluate the pros and cons of those countries that we believe that Malaysia is a very good fit for us. So that we decided to locate our factory in Malaysia in around November of last year. After we decided the location, we started to select the factory, the rent factories. And then we started the factory, the business registration in November of last year. When we fixed the factory, we start also the renovation at the same time. In January of this year, we got the qualification by the meter, and also we get the RMW. RMW stands for the Licensed Manufacturing Warehouse. As I said, most of our products are export. So for some export business, we can apply the RMW for some import duty free of the machines and also for the material if that product is finally exported. So it can help us to have the lower cost for buying the material and also the machines. In January this year, it takes around 1 to 2 months time that we get all the license finished. I think that is a very reasonable time that to have all licenses ready. And also, as you remember, this January is our Chinese New Year. And then in Malaysia, it's just a few days that holidays. So our factory renovation, we can running the renovations at the same time when our Chinese factory is closed for the holidays. So when everything gets ready, and then in February, we get the CCC, the certifications of the compliance and completion. That means that that is a certification of the construction approval. So that means the facility is all ready to move in. So in February, we transferred our first batch of the machines from China for the production line setup. We also sent our technical crew of around 10 technicians to support the setup of the production line. Okay, so when everything is ready, we plan to start our production in March. However, in March, the government announced that the MCO, the Movement Control Order, that means that the country is almost locked down. The factories can not able to open due to the COVID-19 pandemics. So this, which is a very big problem to us at that time. So in April, we almost have to close that to our factory. We are not able to start our productions. Our staff need to work from home. But at that time, we can only finish the only one production line trial, and then we have to send back our Chinese team. That is really a big impact to our progress. Okay, and then in the mid of the April, we got the qualified resume the work, but just only some of our technical or engineer can go back to work. But at the early of the May, with the help of the local officials and then local governments, we got the approval to the work resumes in the early of May. However, at that time, we do not have any technical team here. So that's we connected to China and then also the Malaysia factory with the WeChat and also other video conferencing systems. We carry out the remote training and continue our production trial run in the May. And finally, and then that is really lucky, we get everything's trial this very smoothly in May to have our production line set up. So that's why that we can start our production in June. And then we can also ramp up the productions within 1 month. And finally, we got the first shipment in July. Okay, in this time, the schedule is very tight. And then the successful setup of production line is because that we got a very good help from the MATRADE, and also we can find very, very good suppliers in our area. So that this is most of our equipment supplier, they got their service point in Malaysia in Penang. So that's why that we can work together with our supplier, so to make the tight schedule successful. So we got a very good impression to start a new factory in Malaysia. Of course, we can still see there are some concern or some challenges that in the future. Because that our factory now is just very new, and then the utilization is still very low. We don't need any foreign worker yet, but we think that that may be one of the concern if we need more workers, especially we need some foreign worker to support our productions. Moreover, we find that I think that is for the young generations, manufacturing may not be the first priority or first choice of their career. I think that is also same in China and other places as well. So we need to think about how to attract the new generation. For example, we need to provide a good working environments, some very high technology process that to let them think manufacturing is a good place and a good career for the very good for the career development. Okay. Last but not least, Malaysia now is still locked down due to the COVID-19. We got a lot of our customer, including the new or existing customer. They has a very, very high interest to our new factory in Malaysia. However, they are not able to visit us. They are not able to visit our new factories. We look forward to reopen of the border, and also that is important for us that we need to send our technical staff from China to Malaysia to set up new process, because we just only has developed one of the manufacturing process that in Malaysia. We are looking for to develop more new manufacturing process in there. So that is very critical that, so the time of the reopening of the borders, so that we can have the further goal of the business. Okay, so this is the end of my presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. We're now open the floor for questions. Please submit your questions through the Q&A box. So we have a question received earlier. So can Mr. Choi share more about the community facilities or services offered by your company or next to the Penang factory?
Okay. So, our factory is at the is the place that is the mainland of the Penang. Penang, you know, that is the two places. This is the island and island side, and then the mainland. We are located in the mainland. That is the science part. We found that there is a lot of the very big factories there. And then we find that the factory here is we rented from the a local company, and then so that is a newly built factories, and then that is good facilities, and then this is a complete building. When we go in, we just need to set up some equipment such as the crane, and also that set up the electricities for our machines, and then for all the basic infrastructure, everything is ready. So I think this is a very good, and then very good foundations, and then for the as a new startup of the company in Malaysia.
Okay, thank you. So another questions from the audience. So is there any digital transformation consideration for the company with the current COVID situation, which may be prolonged?
Yeah, as I said that, due to the COVID situations that we almost stopped all the traveling, so that we have to rely on the informations, the technology. So we have some that the remote training. So we set up the VR system. So let the two places that the engineer can train up the new staff there. And then we find that the engineer in Malaysia, they take times to pick up the process. But with the help of these technologies, I think it is better, so that we can still speed up our times of the training to start the production on time.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. I think that concludes your presentation. So thank you so much for your time and your presentation. So next, may I invite Mr. Nick Siew from Hartamas Real Estate Hong Kong to introduce the business environment and industrial parks in Malaysia. Mr. Siew, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to take this opportunity to thank HKTDC and MATRADE, Ms. Ezzwanee. My name is Nick Siew. I'm the Director of Hartamas Real Estate Hong Kong Limited. So I would like to take a minute to introduce our company and also our services. So we are a Malaysia real estate agency established since 1996 in Malaysia. We have a workforce of more than 400 individuals, and we have offices in KL, Shanghai, and Taipei. And recently, last year in July, we started our Hong Kong office. Our objective in Hong Kong is to help Hong Kong and China companies to venture into Malaysia to set up their regional offices or their factory. So we provide services such as corporate services, asset management, valuation, and also we are the appointed tourism agency for the MM2H. So to those have not been to Malaysia, this is how our country looks like. So we have West and East Coast. So West, we have 11 states, and we have another 2 states at the East. So most of the activities for this manufacturing happen in this part of West Coast of Malaysia. We have Penang, Selangor, and Johor, and also Pahang. So firstly, I would like to introduce Kuala Lumpur. So we have a population close to 2 million in KL, and we have about close to 1 million of workforce. So a lot of companies, when they look into Malaysia, when they want to set up their back office, their sales office, they'll look into KL first. Why? Because of the geographical reason that highlighted by our Trade Commissioner Yep. And in KL, is actually not very huge. I mean, by car, you can travel between 90 minutes. You can actually travel the entire KL. So one of the main reasons that I would like to add in why a lot of companies, when they consider business expansion and why Malaysia, I think one of the things I like to highlight is Malaysia is free of natural disasters, because most of the company, when they enter Malaysia, they think of talking about 10 years, 20 years plan or longer. So one of the main reason they consider is because Malaysia are free from natural disaster. So if you can see in the past 10 years, we have companies from US, Europe, China, Hong Kong that have set up their regional headquarters in KL, and also their supply chain, their centers of excellence, and also their global business services. So we have sectors like a few sectors like big data, logistic, and also for professional services. So a few big names I'd like to highlight that you may heard of is companies like Honeywell from the US. We have Hitachi from Japan. We even have sportsdirect.com from UK that sells all the sports equipments and these apparels. And also we have this multinational companies like Oracle and IBM from US. So this gives you an assurance that these Fortune 500 companies and MNC, they are already in Malaysia for the last 10 years or 20 years. So I got this map from InvestKL that most of the MNC company where they set up their offices, mainly you can see in KL Central. Why? Because KL Central is the transportation hub in KL. So we have a direct airport express. It only takes you 30 minutes from airport to KL Central. So one of the main reasons why a lot of companies set up their regional office in KL Central. Another address I like to highlight is KLCC. KLCC is known for a few sectors like oil and gas, banking, and also telcos. So we can see companies like Schlumberger, example, is already been set up in KLCC. So give you an idea when you like to set up your back office, you can, based on this map, and look for a nearer offices that you could complement to your businesses. Maybe they could be your possible clients in future. So next, I would like to cover Selangor. If you look into the map, actually, Kuala Lumpur is actually covered by Selangor. We call it Klang Valley. So we have a total population of around 8 million, including Kuala Lumpur. So by car, probably within 2 to 2.5 hours, you can actually cover the entire Klang Valley, okay? And we have a total workforce of close to 4 million in Selangor alone. So Selangor is also the highest economy contribution to Malaysia. So these are the 5 core clusters that are already set up and running in Selangor. So we have from transport equipment, F&B, electrical and electronics, machinery, and life sciences. So some companies that you may heard of like Toyota, Nestle, Panasonic, they've been in Malaysia for more than 10, 15 years. So they give you an idea why are they choosing Malaysia. So some of the industrial park that I would like to recommend. So we can see the second one is run by this PKNS. It's a government agency by the Selangor government. So for your information, a lot of the industrial parks in Malaysia are either owned by the local government agency or the developers. So next, I would like to cover Penang. Thank you, Mr. Choi, just now highlighting the reason why you set up in Malaysia and why particularly in Penang. So I myself, my mom is from Penang, so I'm half Penangite. So Penang has known for, in the last 30 years, has the Silicon Valley of the East. To many, you may not know, actually companies like Intel and Western Digital, they have entered Penang since I was very young, like 30 years ago. So Penang is like Hong Kong. If you see on the map, on your left is like island. On your right, mainland is also equivalent to Kowloon side, which is the land side is much larger than Penang Island. So you can see Penang is rather smaller compared to KL and Selangor. We have merely close to 2 million population, and we have close to 900,000 workforce. So these are the main leading sectors that in Penang. If you can see on my left, actually Penang contributes 8% of the global back-end semiconductor output in the world. That's how Penang obtained the nickname of Silicon Valley of the East since 30 years ago. So you can see companies like Intel, AMD, Renesas, and Broadcom. These giants have entered Penang in the early days. And we also cover EMS, LED supply chain, and also storage supply chain. And I'd just like to highlight Osram is from Germany. So they actually produce light bulbs. So many of our homes you may also come across Osram, this brand. So lastly, I would like to highlight is Penang is also well known for medical tourism. Hence, you see a lot of medical related industry companies have been set up in Penang. For your information, last year, 2019, Malaysia accounted about 2 billion in the medical tourism, and Penang actually cover more than 50% of the entire size. So give you an idea, Penangs are very matured in this medical tourism. The main patients that we see are from Indonesia and China, and of course our nearby countries. So these are the two industrial parks that I would like to recommend, and they are all owned by the Penang Development Corporation. So Batu Kawan is a rather new development industrial park. We have IKEA, who invested millions last few years, and IKEA now has successfully set up. And we also have this logistic hub by PKT Logistic. It's one of the main logistic player for Malaysia. So they have also recently completed their world-class this logistic hub in Batu Kawan. So a few more recommendations for those companies who like to set up in Penang. So next, I would like to cover Johor. So Johor is just next to Singapore. It's just like Shenzhen and Hong Kong. And Johor is twice the size of Hong Kong and 3 times the size of Singapore. We have population of close to 2 million. And for your information, there are 3 coastal ways from Johor to Singapore by cars. So these are the sectors that Johor is covering. I would like to highlight a few. Mainly are the medical tourism. Johor is the 2nd largest medical tourism in Malaysia behind Penang. And I would like to highlight is oil and gas industry and also manufacturing. The reason why is because Johor has a port that is close to Singapore, and also is very strategically located in this state of Malacca, that you can easily reach out to the Southeast Asian, ASEAN, or up to China within a week by this shipment. Okay. So these are the industrial parks that I would recommend. We have first one is the Iskandar Halal Park, and followed by Johor Technology Park. For your information, this year onwards, we see a lot of Singapore and also ASEAN companies setting up in Johor, mainly because they are close to Singapore first, and secondly, this year July, our government just officiated the trainway from Johor CBD to Woodlands in Singapore, and in years to come, we will have this KL to Singapore high-speed railway, hopefully in the next 5 years. So Johor is one of the stops before arriving in Singapore. And also Johor can attract a lot of Singapore MNC and also the talents as well. So this Pahang, I would like to cover the last part of this investment part is in Pahang. So this is the Kuantan port. In 2013, China and Malaysia have signed a joint venture to set up this Kuantan port. So it's about 3,000 acres in terms of the size. And hopefully by this year end, our government will kickstart the ECRL, this project that able to connect all the way from KL to Kuantan. So there's some information about the Malaysia-China Industrial Park. So these are the sectors that are covering in Kuantan. I would say mainly would be the machinery equipment manufacturing, the steel and metals industry, and petrochemical industry. Mainly is because the duration is much shorter because they have a port there, and the shipment to China, Hong Kong is only about 5 to 7 working days. So I would like to provide you one of our client, an industrial case study. So when a client have an inquiry, these are the information that they will provide. So in return, we will propose them the proposed factory based on the specification and their needs. And we also advise them which location to set up. Example, let's say my client is in automobile industry. So we will recommend them in Glenmary, for example, because you have the ecosystem there to actually complement with your businesses. So for companies who would like to set up your regional office or your back office, these are an idea how much cost that you need to prepare for renovation and space planning. So we cover most of the KL offices in KL and Selangor, all the way from grade A buildings to the normal office building. So lastly, I will end by highlighting about Malaysia currency. This is in July. So today, October, we have saw the increase of 2 to 3% in terms of the currency ringgit against Hong Kong dollar. So this will help you give you a better idea that it's a good timing to enter Malaysia, while the currency environment and the interest rate are very favorable to investors. So I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siew, for your detailed introduction. So we're now open to the floor for questions. So please submit your questions via our Q&A box. So we have received a question from the audience. So is there any pricing reference or leasing terms for the industrial park you mentioned just now? Or do you know if there's any incentive offered by the local government for overseas manufacturers interested in setting up factories in the industrial parks or in Malaysia?
Yes, I will break it down into two questions. For the leasing leasing terms, normally we go by 5 plus 5 years for those semi or mid-size to large size kind of manufacturing. For the incentive, you may check with our Trade Commissioner, Ms. Ezzwanee. She will actually refer you to the relevant investment agency, and we are more than welcome, and there are plenty of incentive offered by our government agency.
Thank you, Mr. Siew, for your answer. So any other questions for our speaker? So please type it in the Q&A box. Okay, there's one more. Can you share more about the community services, for example, residential, social facilities, or other infrastructure facilities offered or nearby the park?
Yes, let's say I would like to take an example like Glen Mary is well known for this automobile industry, and it is located strategically in Selangor, and unfortunately there's no public transportation, but it's reachable by car, and we are surrounded by a lot of mature infrastructure and amenities. So residential issue, healthcare, education, shopping is not an issue at all, but it depends on the location. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siew. Thank you for your time and your presentation today. Next, may I invite Ms. Janice Chu, founder and principal from JC Legal, to talk about the legal and tax policies related to setting up a business in Malaysia. Ms. Chu, please.
Thank you, Pamela. Hello, everyone. Today I will talk about the legal and tax policy for, if you want to expand your business in Malaysia. I think this would be a very, very good opportunities to have a insight in Malaysia before you expand your business in Malaysia. So the agenda for today, so we will talk about how to incorporate a company in Malaysia, and also the employer's obligations if you started to, hiring employees in Malaysia. And the last part, we will talk about the tax overview in Malaysia. So setting up a company in Malaysia, I think in terms of the legal structure, is actually quite similar to Hong Kong. As Mr. Choi just mentioned, the legal system in Malaysia and in Hong Kong is actually quite similar. So I have drawn a comparisons for setting up a company in Malaysia and in Hong Kong. So you can see here the authority is in Malaysia we call Companies Commissions of Malaysia, and in Hong Kong we call a CR. So in terms of the types itself, the types that are available to set up a company is actually in Malaysia and in Hong Kong is actually quite similar. So we have a sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability partnership, and private limited company, what we call Sendirian Berhad. And we have public limited company, which Berhad, we always, if you see a Berhad, that means it's a listed company, a public limited company. and we have a foreign company and representative office. So I just want to mention to everyone here, if let's say you're interested to set up a company in Malaysia, you need to take note that the only available entity that is open for foreigners are what we call private limited company, which is similar, it's same like a private limited company in Hong Kong. And also what we call a foreign company, which is the representative office. But please bear in mind, if you want to set up a representative office or a foreign company in Malaysia, you cannot have a revenue. So you can set up as like a marketing office that, but you cannot sell things or you cannot have a revenue from Malaysia. Yeah, until you convert or you change the entity from a foreign company to a private limited company. So we have an offshore company in Malaysia, what we call a Labuan company. And the shareholders and director structure in Malaysia is actually quite similar. When I say quite similar, that the only difference would be the director. So I understand that there is one participant is asking about the directorships in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, there is no requirement that you need to be a Malaysian for holding the directorship, but we need a resident director. That means you need to have an address in Malaysia to become a director. So for instance, if let's say you are staying in Hong Kong and you set up a company in Malaysia, but you do not have any other people but just you as a sole director who is not having address, a residential address in Malaysia, then you need to have a resident director. That means you need to have another director who is having a resident address in Malaysia to hold as a director. So quickly go through the requirements. The company secretary we need, either in Malaysia or in Hong Kong, you need a company secretary. The Malaysia company secretary is actually a special qualified company secretary. Yeah. And then we have a pay-up capital, which is no minimum pay-up capital, and there is no par value, it's not available. So as I mentioned just now, these are the requirements, yeah. It's pretty straightforward, one shareholders, one director, and one company secretary. And if you want to be a sole director, please make sure that you are the resident director. And it's not necessary that you need to have a Malaysian director in a way. But they are just for your information. If you are setting up certain business, yeah, for instance, if you are setting up a cafe or food and beverage, that particular business, you might need to have Malaysians as shareholders to apply for the F&B license, yeah? So now we come to the company incorporations, the procedure. I would say it's actually 99.9% is quite similar to the procedures in Hong Kong to set up a company. So the first step, you need to know what is the name that you would like to incorporate in Malaysia, because maybe you are using ABC company in Hong Kong, but this company name is not available in Malaysia because someone has already been using it. So you need to do a company search name, company name search, just to ensure that the name is still available for you. So if it's a private limited company, you will always see, and you need to include, it's mandatory to include Sendirian Berhad, SDN-BHD. So, and also you need to submit all the incorporation documents, and then you apply for a certificate of incorporations. And then from there, there will be, the company secretary will prepare the minutes and company kits for you. And then the next step would be opening a bank account. So it's actually very similar to with in Hong Kong. So this is something similar that I always have been receiving, and I think one of the participants just asked, if I'm a Hong Kong citizen and I'm a passport holder of Hong Kong citizen, Hong Kong passport as well, can I be the director of the Malaysia company? So the answer would be yes, you can, provided you have a residential address in Malaysia, or if you do not have, then make sure you have a resident director. At the same time, you have another resident director. So before we go for the employer obligations, we just mentioned about the opening bank account. So for opening the bank account is actually quite similar. So you need to make sure that you have your business plan ready. Where is your source of revenue, your source of funding? So because if you are opening a bank account in Malaysia, you will go through a so-called a very short interview by the bank officer, like in Hong Kong when you're opening your bank account in HSBC or Citibank or Standard Chartered Bank. So you need to make sure that all documents are ready there. So in terms of local bank, we have CIMB Bank, we have Hong Leong Bank, we have public banks right there. So Maybank as well. So there are HSBC Bank as well. So that would be considered as a bank account opening process. So when we come to employers' obligations, just need to let you know what would be the minimum wage, because when you started to hiring, you just need to know what would be the minimum wage in Malaysia. So the minimum wage in Malaysia we are talking about is around 1,002 ringgit Malaysia. So per hours, we are talking about $5.77. Yeah. So 1,002 is around 2005 or 2006 Hong Kong dollar, depending on the currency exchange rate. So for the employer's obligations, the statutory leave, so you can see there are 3 categories right here. If you're working on less than 2 years, then your annual leave, the statutory annual leave, we are talking about 8 days, and the sick leave, yeah, it's 14 days. And 2 to 5 years, we are talking about 12 days annual leave, and 18 days sick leave, yeah. So if someone is working in the company for more than 5 years, so that means their annual leave, the entitlements of annual leave will be relatively longer, which is 16 days, and the sick leave is 22 days. So there is another statutory entitlement for employees we are saying is EPF. In Hong Kong, we are saying MPF, yeah, mandatory funds, provident funds. So there are 2 parts. The 7% will be contributed by the employee's monthly salary. And then another part we are talking, it's about 12% or 13%. Why we have 12 or 13? So if the monthly salaries of 5,000 and below, then the employer will be subject to 12% of the EPF of the employees. And for 5,000 and more above, then it will be 13%. So the other entitlements will be social security. So the social security from the employee's monthly salary, the contribution will be 1.75% plus 0.5%. For the employer, yeah, so we are talking about it's around 1.25%, which is contributed to the employment injury scheme. So now we will get into this tax overview. So apart from, we are talking about the profit tax, we are talking about the salary tax. I believe if, let's say you are as an investor, you would like to go into the Malaysia market and if you want to set up a factory, then that would be, there are certain incentives, a tax incentive that you might be applicable, that would be applicable to your case, which you can check with MATRADE, and they will let you know what would be the incentive that is available, the tax incentive that is available for investor for setting up a factory. So now we come to a corporate income tax. So now we can see if the companies with a paid up capital of ringgit Malaysia 2.5 million, we are talking about 5.1 or 5.2 million Hong Kong dollar, and less at the beginning of the basis period for a year of assessment, then 17% of the first 500,000, it will be chargeable income at 17%, yeah? And the subsequent will be chargeable at 24%. That means we are talking about the maximum of the corporate income tax, we call profit tax, is 24%, yeah? It's actually slightly higher than in Hong Kong. So at personal income tax, the maximum we can go until 28%, yeah? So if you want to know whether you are qualified as a tax resident, these are certain requirements that maybe you can have a look, and then you might see whether you are qualified as tax resident, whether you need to pay the tax. But of course, first and foremost, you might need to have a working visa if you like to work in Malaysia. By having a working visa, the next thing would be you need to determine whether you are liable to pay tax in Malaysia, whether you are tax resident in Malaysia. So whether you are qualified as a tax resident in Malaysia, then you need to see whether you are in Malaysia for at least 180 days in a calendar year. So for instance, if you spend every 2 weeks, in Malaysia each month, then you can calculate in a calendar year whether you are really spending your time around at least 180 days in Malaysia. If you do, then you are qualified as a tax resident and you need to declare tax and pay tax in Malaysia. So the other scenario is in Malaysia for a period less than 180 days during the year, but that period is linked to a period of a physical presence of 182 days or more consecutively days in the following or preceding years. Then you also might be qualified as a tax resident in Malaysia. So the third requirements would be in Malaysia for 90 days or more during the year, or in any 3 of the 4 immediately preceding year, you were in Malaysia for at least 90 days, or was resident in Malaysia. Then you are also considered a tax resident in Malaysia. So the resident for the year immediately following the year or for each of the 3 immediate preceding year. So you might also as a tax resident in Malaysia. So this is what we call income tax. So the last part I would like to cover is about digital tax. So this digital tax is actually a quite, it's a very new act that has been passed and also effective in Malaysia on 1st January 2020. So for instance, even though you are a foreign service provider, as long as you are providing a digital service, when we are talking about digital service, it can go to online learning system, entertainment like Spotify or Netflix, providing entertainment, digital services in the consumer, for the consumer in Malaysia, for 12 months or less. And the total revenue of your business, the turnover total revenue, it's actually more than 500,000, which we are talking about 120,000 US dollar. Then you need to register as a foreign service provider, and the consumer in Malaysia is subject to the service tax, which is 6%. Then we have to pay the 6% service tax to you as an FRP. We're talking about foreign registered persons, and you are liable to declare this and pay this 6% tax to the government in Malaysia. So the taxable would be every 3 months, So I just want to let you know more about what constitutes a digital service. So if any service that we are talking about, I just talk about like e-learning system, entertainment, all this software, firewall, that service that you're providing, even though you are not from Malaysia, you are a foreign service provider, you are still subject to this digital service tax. So it's delivered, any service that is delivered or subscribed over the internet or other electronic network which cannot be obtained without the use of technology, it's IT, and where the delivery of the service is essentially automated. So I have explained what would be the qualified digital services here. So like applications, video games, ebooks, internet-based telecommunication, and online training. So who is registered, foreign registered persons? So any foreign service provider who is registered under Section 56 of the Service Tax Act. So the service provider who is not based in Malaysia, who is operating an online platform for buying and selling goods or providing services and making transactions for provisions of digital services on behalf of any person. You are considered a foreign registered person and you need to register under Section 56C. And compliance obligations of foreign registered persons, that's what you need to do if you are FRP. So if you are a foreign registered persons, you need to charge 6% service tax, But for your information, Malaysia is the second country that are applying this digital tax after Singapore. So to charge a 6% service tax on digital service, and to issue an invoice, whether you want to do it electronically or in a paper form, which containing the particulars of the consumer in respect of the digital service transactions. So you need to make it clear what kind of digital service that the consumer is subscribing. And you need to submit a prescribed service tax return and remit the service tax to the government, which is the Royal Malaysian Customs Department, by the last day of the month, which is end of the taxable period, in a quarterly basis. And then you need to maintain a complete and true records of all transactions for at least a period of 7 years. So who is the consumer? So you can clearly see, like, if you are making payments for digital service using your credit card or debit facility provided by any banks of, or company in Malaysia, yeah, then you might be considered as a consumer in Malaysia. And also you're acquiring the digital service using an internet protocol address registered in Malaysia, and also international mobile phone country code assigned to Malaysia, and you reside in Malaysia, yeah. So that's all for my sharings for today. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chiu. The floor is now open for questions, and we have actually received one just now. Roughly, what's the price difference for setting up company between Hong Kong and Malaysia, and assuming that the shareholder are mainly from Malaysia?
So if you want to set up a Malaysia company, so I think for Malaysia company, the official fees for the government fees, Malaysia it's around Hong Kong dollar 2,000 for the official fees. So the professional fees is around 3,500 Hong Kong dollar. So I think in terms of the fees, it's more or less quite similar with Hong Kong. Yeah, because there are also some optional items that you need to like whether you need them to provide the registered address, and whether you need a company secretary service. But I think because in Malaysia, company secretary is a special qualified persons, you need to have a company secretary. So that would be another items that you need to add in. But if you're talking about just the official fees, it's quite similar with Hong Kong, I would say.
Thank you, Ms. Chiu. If there's no more other questions from the floor, I'd like to thank you for Ms. Chiu for joining us today. Thank you for your presentation. So next, may I invite Ms. Fione Tan, co-founder and CEO of 28mall.com, to share her insights into e-commerce opportunities in Malaysia. Ms. Tan, please.
Hi, everyone. Yes, okay, this is Fione here. First, I'd like to wish everyone the happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Okay, so today I'll be sharing about the e-commerce opportunities. Okay, so of course, as you will know, here are some of the information. Let me just take a look here. Okay, we start off for E1net and 28mall. We started with Malaysia, but now we also have presence in Hong Kong. So we are over in Causeway Bay here as well. So we focus on digital marketing and also e-commerce. Okay, so here are some of the information that we have. And if you're going to do business in Malaysia, I would say that definitely go and look at the associations that we have all around. Because, for example, like between Hong Kong and Malaysia, we have this one called the Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association. And this is a very good starting point if you're interested to find out more. Okay. And then for cross-border, there is a specific association. This one is called Malaysia Cross-Border E-Commerce Association. And other associations as well, such as the PCOM, which is for IT. And if you're going into retail, and want to know more about what's happening in the shopping malls, what are events related to retail, F&B, chain store franchises, then Malaysia Retail Chain Association. And definitely for our manufacturers to look at the FMM, Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the people in Southeast Asia, not just Malaysia. Why? Because if you look at it, e-commerce is growing globally, but more and more people are going to Southeast Asia, because Southeast Asia itself is a population of 662 million. Okay, internet users, they're talking about 400 over million, and is growing year by year by year. But of all the different countries that we have in Southeast Asia, today we'll be focusing on Malaysia. So here you can see the comparison, e-commerce use amongst the internet users, and most of the users are between 16 to 64. So here you can see 90% in Indonesia, Thailand, because of the huge population that they have. But following that, you can see Malaysia, okay, then followed by Vietnam. And in a way, this few is still the percentage-wise, we're higher than the worldwide numbers, okay. Retail e-commerce sales for 2019. In May 2019, they focused that, can notice that Mexico, India, Philippines, China, and just below that, you have Malaysia. Okay, so we are growing annually. This is the best time for you to come and take a look about how you can export your products to Malaysia, especially from the sharing from the other speakers. You will notice that we share a lot of similarities in terms of entertainment. People, when they know about the Hong Kong movie stars, the celebrities, and the food, you know, the culture. So this is a lot of big plus points for Hong Kong. For Malaysia internet population, so here are some statistics. 2020 e-commerce spending is going to be projected at 4.45 billion US dollars. And this number, we're looking at something about doubling, you know, up to 8.63 billion in US dollars by 2024. How is the e-commerce spending? So the revenue per user, we call them ARPU, is about 340 US dollars. Malaysia population, as mentioned, is very young, 28.7. That means that a lot of them are very familiar with the digital usage, okay? And 44% are 24 years old and below. So we are saying 5 more years to go, 6 more years to go, 20 more years to go. These are going to be big spenders as they increase their income level. So now with COVID-19, do you see the opportunity is getting more or getting less? So this was a report on June 11, report in one of newspaper called The Star, our leading English newspaper in Malaysia. COVID-19, more e-commerce means more spending. Malaysia's online retail sales went up by 28.9% in April. I think you can see similar numbers happening in Hong Kong as well. Okay, just that we have more population there. But surprisingly, during the COVID-19 lockdown, as you know that there was a lockdown period, this was a survey done to see what were people shopping for, what were people buying, and you'll be very surprised. You notice that there was an increment of 909% in people purchasing ladies' underwear, okay, followed by latex glove, okay, latex glove 880%, okay, and this is a comparison of the 1 month, 30 days before MCO versus 30 days after. And a lot of people were staying at home, so they have to do a lot of cooking, okay, and no dining out. So it went up to 880% in terms of frying pans and woks. And a lot of baking and related products such as gelatin powder, apple cider vinegar, black seed oil, salt, okay, and other interesting items such as hair shampoo, okay, baby's blanket, home equipment. Some people would have thought that, you know, when you're staying at home, you're eating, so you need to work out because the gyms are closed. So they will actually have to purchase the fitness equipment and start doing them at home as well, okay? And other items as well, such as toothpaste. Okay, so if you're selling anything related to this, you can see this as interesting data points that you can look at. But to really look at selling to Malaysia, I would say that we need to understand a few points. The first point is what to sell. Okay, number 2, what to sell. Earlier, we've shared some numbers, some different categories and types of products. Number 2 would be where to sell. What are the platforms that are suitable, and what are the differences? Number 3, languages. Okay, number 4, delivery from Hong Kong to Malaysia. And number 5, the most important is to how to market. Because you might have a very good product, put them on the best platform and still not get sales. Because it goes down to whether the consumers in Malaysia actually know, whether they understand about your product or not. So for example, because these few days, everyone is talking about long holidays, etc. And of course, the Mid-Autumn Festival. Mooncake is a definite favorite item. So for example, this is one of the best-selling mooncake in Hong Kong itself. But what do? You can see in 28 Mall, this item can be purchased by the Malaysian customers, and we will deliver the product, the mooncake, from Hong Kong to Malaysia. Interesting. Up to this week, I think just Monday, we still had inquiries, but we already stopped because why? Due to logistics, it will not reach them in just 1 or 2 days. Okay. And how about Malaysian? Because I noticed in the group here is both, we have the Malaysian entrepreneurs and we also have Hong Kong entrepreneurs. So in Hong Kong, we are exporting to Malaysia. It goes vice versa as well. So Hong Kong can buy things from Malaysia, but Malaysia things can also be sold to Hong Kong. So when you think of Hong Kong mooncake from Malaysia, what do you think of? Yes, durian mooncakes, correct? I was very surprised. This was you can see the order was placed on 22nd September. And the customer is from Singapore. So it was a Singapore customer sending the product to a Hong Kong recipient. That's why they ordered through us. And this was the product, D King Musang King Snowy Mooncake. So interesting, it's a Malaysian product being sold to Hong Kong, but purchased by a Singaporean customer. What does it mean? It means that e-commerce is making the world smaller and smaller, and it's very convenient to actually make purchases. It's a matter of whether they can find you and whether you can actually assist them to get the products delivered from point A to point B. So there are opportunities for both ways. Maybe in Hong Kong, you're interested to source from Malaysian products to sell here. Yes, that would be great. So the top e-commerce merchant segments in terms of payment received in Malaysia, you notice that this was a report by JP Morgan in terms of payment trends. 39% of the e-commerce spending went into travel. But definitely this will be a dropping number for this year, 2020, and it might even last to 2021 beginning, okay? But most of the people in Malaysia were actually spending money on the middle one, consumer electronics, 17.3%, as clothes and apparel, 12%, furniture and household goods, 13%, others, and food, health, and beauty took up more than 8% as well. So in terms of the categories that you're looking at to do B2C in Malaysia, electronics, furniture, clothes, food, health, beauty, basically is very similar, okay? And tips to sell to Malaysia. What are the platforms that you can sell on? Okay, the two big boys there will be Lazada and Shopee, the two largest platform based in Southeast Asia. They are available in multiple countries, okay? But not only that, you have local ones such as Lelong, who has been here for many years, Presto Mall, Q10, Carousel, okay? Carousel is more for C2C. But surprisingly, apart from 28 Mall, you can actually see Facebook. What does it mean? Because Malaysians are using social media very extensively on a daily basis. So you can use Facebook to actually start the purchase decision, to start the marketing from them, okay? So if you compare between Lazada and Shopee, the good news is both of these companies do have a what we call a global logistics or also a global sellers program. So you can contact them in Hong Kong as well. Monthly average traffic for January 2020, they're talking about 12 million for Lazada and then 27.8 million for Shopee. So the layout, you notice left and right, these are the screens, are pretty similar. For 20 Mall, like for us, we sell on both platforms as well because we position more as a cross-border accelerator. So we are in the various platforms. Certain products that you sell, you will get a better price on Lazada, and you have to put the pricing at a lower price in Shopee. So you really have to do a market research to see your same product on both the platforms. But do be careful because each of these platforms do have some differences in terms of cancellation policies, which will affect the way your process applies from the goods in Hong Kong up to the point in Malaysia. So you check with them what is the current cancellation procedure that they're having. Okay, so for example, when you have a shop in Lazada, you have your logo with your own brand. Okay, you can put in the different categories as well. Okay, this is an example. Okay, so you can recruit your followers and then you can issue coupons and stuff. Okay, this is Lazada. This one is Shopee. So for example, in Shopee, you will notice that there are also various products here, and you can even see the pricing, and in terms of the stars here, okay, you can even see top sales to actually see that particular month, this item, how many units has been sold. Majority of products that we sell to Malaysia are actually it's similar to what Hong Kong people love, okay, such as like this one, the Caudalie or the Calbee cereals. They love a lot of our health and beauty products as well, okay. So look at selling brands, not just cheap items, but it's about brand. I think Malaysian value the quality products as well. Okay, so you can also go into different platforms such as ours here. Like this is one of the brands from Hong Kong who've just come on board for 28 Mall, different categories. Okay, so B2C. So what do? We actually can help to do the global platforms, multi-cross-border platforms in Southeast Asia, which means that when they come on board 28 Mall, we become an accelerator. We help them to go into the different platforms as well. Okay, so what are the platforms that we're looking at? So of course, in Malaysia, you definitely have to be in Lazada and Shopee, and also in Presto Mall. Later, I'll share a little bit more about Presto Mall because they have a physical presence. Okay, and if you're looking to Indonesia, you can look at JD. And then in Middle East, one of them will be E-Roman. And also, these are just some of the ideas. Point number three, if you can't solve it, it will be a problematic for you as well, is to actually assign a definite, a team or a person in charge of Malaysia. Because as you know that in Malaysia, we are multilingual and we love to PM, private message. So for example, this is an example for one of our clients was asking, yang go berapa lama? So basically, we love to converse between English with Malay, and we bundle it into a sentence because it's a trend. Okay, so when we reply to the customer, we are using the same English plus Malay as well. Okay, so you should use both methods to actually look at that. Okay. And then the next one that you look at is when you deliver to the Southeast Asia is the de minimis. Okay, be very careful of the de minimis because if you send a product, every country we have a de minimis rate, and in Malaysia it's about $115 US. Okay, so the de minimis rate, which means this covers the price of the product as well as the cost of delivery. If it's above this, which means that the customer will actually have to pay duties, taxes on the item itself. Okay, and local registrations will apply if you want to import food, cosmetics, skincare, supplement. So if you really want to do it properly, I would say that get everything registered, get the license, because even you can actually have a local company in Malaysia to assist you for that. And just now earlier on, we have the JC Legal speaking about the digital service. Okay. So Hong Kong to Malaysia shipping, there are still variety of slides that you can actually you can choose from. Okay, and lastly, for tips for selling Southeast Asia is make sure that you're using the different social media, FB, LG, IG, live selling in the different marketplaces. They are also starting on their live selling, and utilize KOLs or bloggers. So because then from there, they will know about your products and your brands, and definitely do not miss out on offline activities. Social media users in Malaysia, you can see in March 2020, we are talking about 25.7 million of us are actually on Facebook. So basically you can get a very good reach of Malaysians, okay, via social media, okay. Offline, this is a crossover between Presto, remember one of the marketplace, they even have a physical location where you can actually feature the products. Okay, this is some of the segments of 20 more products there, where you can actually just use a QR code to scan the product and then you make a purchase. So it's called the largest cashless store in Southeast Asia, using social media, live selling, etc. And lastly, the good point about if you are a Hong Kong company, when you want to export to Malaysia, there are few funds or support even from Hong Kong government to actually assist, okay, ranging from CF funding where you can learn how to actually start or sell your things online to Malaysia. Number two, the most popular product right now, or the most popular funding right now, is the DB's fund, which expires on October 31st. So you have one last month to actually use it. You can actually use funding to create your website, online payment, cross-border platform listing, as well as chatbots. And number 3, to further do that, make use of the BUD fund. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. And then if any Q&A, we'll be able to pick it up right now.
Thank you, Ms. Tan. We actually have one question from the floor.
Yes.
So it's a rather interesting one. As a construction site consumable company, so would it be your e-shopping platform, or is there any best e-shopping platform allow us to sell in Malaysia?
Okay, yeah, I saw the question is from Sandra, right?
Yeah.
When you mean it's a construction site consumable company, first you look at it, is it things like tiles, smaller items? Then this will be easy because the consumers can actually go on all these places and start doing it as well. But if it's a very huge, item, or drill, okay, I see. Actually, you can actually sell drills. I have students who actually sell drills online as well. So first thing is have your own.com website. You can list the same product in the various platforms, but we should look at it. Number 1 is the B2B and the B2C element of it, because I think for B2B, it's not just about selling through the platforms, because you're reaching out to the end consumers. So if it's B2B, I would say that do more B2B lead generation so that the other dealers and distributors in Malaysia can actually apply to be your dealer as well, to be your authorized distributor, so it goes both ways. So if you have more information, I think because her question is quite specific to an industry, she can contact us for me to actually take a look more on a case.
Okay, thank you. So any other questions from the floor? If not, thank you so much for Ms. Tan's time today, and thank you for your presentation. Last but not least, may I invite Ms. Angel Chow, Marketing Executive, Corporate Communications and Marketing of Hong Kong Trade Development Council, to give a brief introduction of the Council's new initiative, Transformation Sandbox program, T-Box. The T-Box program aims to provide assistance for Hong Kong SMEs desiring to expand their market overseas. So I'll now pass the floor to Ms. Chow. Ms. Chow, please.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the event today. My name is Angel from HKTDC in Hong Kong. Today, I'm very happy to share our new program, T-Box, to the SMEs who are interested in the Malaysian market. Okay, let's get started. What is the letter T? It means transformation of business, and it also means thinking outside the box, and TDC help SMEs. The T-Box program helps Hong Kong SME transform their business in the area of branding, e-commerce, manufacturing relocation, and new market. So for branding, to help you create a unique brand and establish a differentiated presence in the market, the T-Box program provides practical advice on brand planning, marketing strategy, and intellectual property. So for e-commerce, if you would like to ride on the big wave of online business, you can also ask our staff about the latest market change in the online platform, marketing, payment system, and logistics, or any other discount package from our program partner to help you to tap into global e-commerce opportunity. For manufacturing relocation, in order to deal with upcoming challenge, manufacturers are looking to the next costly location to diversify risk and penetrate new markets. Our business advisors are here to provide an overview of the manufacturing landscape, regulation, and industry part in ASEAN market to help you making your relocation decision. For example, we'll provide the information about the local supporting facility or any business guide. So for the new market, we help local companies tackle challenge and explore new markets. We provide the market overview, sales channels, and related business mission information for market in mainland China and Southeast Asia to guide you oversee the business expansion. So how does it work? So firstly, our TPOS staff will work with you to identify your goal and provide the support over a 3-month period with different surveys, including advisory surveys, workshop, government funding information, market knowledge, and networking opportunity. The program is offered free of charge and is open to all companies registered in Hong Kong. So about our advisory service, we have various professional institutions, Chamber of Commerce, business partner, government officials are here to provide the free advisory service to our TPOS members. Our staff will recommend suitable association to provide advisory service for your need and to help you capture the potential business opportunity. About our workshop, regular workshop will be organized by SME Center and other HKTDC department to cater the needs of TPOS members. You will be given opportunity to exchange the views with the speaker on the subject associated with your needs. So for the next one is the marketing information. There are more than 3,000 online articles which you can find on the HKTDC research and Hong Kong Means Business website regarding the industry and market change. Our staff will pick some article for you and help you to make the best use of HKTDC resource. For the next one is the government funding scheme. The Hong Kong government offer different kind of funding scheme and support to local SME in order to facilitate their growth and development. There are over 40 government funding schemes are available to Hong Kong SME. Just like Ms. Tan mentioned, we have the Bud Fund, branding, upgrading, and domestic sales. And then the Expo Marketing Fund, and then the Technology Voucher Program. So how does this 3-month program work? Firstly, you can submit your application first, and then we will set the goal with you and go through the program. And then the second step, you can join our activity, just like the workshop and advisory surveys. Finally, you can achieve your goals. If you want to get started, you can contact us and we will guide you through. So if you would like to know more information, please feel free to contact us. So you also can scan the QR code to access the TPOS website. Okay, that's the end of my sharing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chow. Ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of today's webinar. Thank you for the insights and practical advices offered by our speakers, and also the support from Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, Federation of Hong Kong Industries, the Chinese Manufacturers Association of Hong Kong, and the Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. We hope you all find the information useful. Thank you for joining us today and hope to see you all in Malaysia very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angel, Wina.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Then we'll communicate more because we need some to do reports, right? So some information. And thanks, Fione, for your presentation. Very good presentation.
Yeah, right. Next time more. Yeah. Actually, next time can promote